Thank you, ma'am. Arpit sir, if you could just put your camera a little lower so we could see your full whole face.
Is it fine now?
Oh, a little far. Put your camera a little far. Yeah, it's better now.
Okay. So, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you pretty well. Vanessa, if you can turn on your camera.
My camera is on. I think. I hope
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
audible.
I can visually, yeah, I can see you. Can you please give it audio check, please?
I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible. Thank you so much, sir. Hi, Nitin, sir.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, sir. Sir, just can you give a audio check, please?
Hi, I'm
Sure,
audible.
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Sumit, sir, if you could give me a audio check, please.
Yes, everyone can hear me. Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're
Yeah.
audible. Perfect. We'll just take 2 more minutes and then we can go ahead with this. Just 2 more minutes.
Sure.
All right. Is I'm audible?
Yes, you're
Good up.
audible.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. IC India, Imperial Society of Innovative Engineers, is India's leading organization, driving the nation's transition towards e-mobility through skill development, research, and industry academia collaboration. Incepted in 2013 with a vision to build a future-ready workforce, IC India has today created the country's largest ecosystem for EV skill development and innovation. Over the last decade, we have trained more than 4 lakh students and professionals across engineering, diploma, and vocational sectors, established 75 plus state-of-the-art Center of Excellence and EV labs in partnership with universities and institutes, industries, NGOs, and state government across India. Partnered with 50 plus industries and associations, including leading OEMs, component manufacturers, and startups. Collaborated with 750 plus universities and technical institutions in 24 states. Our centers of excellence and EV labs are equipped with advanced training setups in EV design, powertrain, battery management systems, charging infrastructure, telematics, IoT, and future technologies. These labs not only provide hands-on experience but also serve as incubation hubs for innovation, research, prototyping, testing, and industry-driven projects. IC India has delivered more than 1,000 plus skill development programs, enabling students, researchers, and educators to bridge the gap between classroom learning and real-world industry requirements. Through flagship national competitions such as Electric Solar Vehicle Championship, Formula Imperial, and the Youth Empowerment Summit, IC India has created a platform where innovation meets excellence. These events have engaged 10,000 plus students from more than 500 plus institutions every year, encouraging them to design, build, and raise their own electric vehicles. Our training initiatives are deeply aligned with India's EV Mission 2030 and Skill India movement, ensuring that the country has a strong future-ready talent pool to lead the global electric mobility revolution. With each center of excellence, each training program, and each partnership, IZ India is strengthening the nation's green mobility infrastructure, empowering youth with future-ready skills and driving innovation for a sustainable tomorrow. IZ India's journey is not just about numbers, it's about impact. It's about preparing India for the electric future today. Today, as we gather through this platform of Mobility Leadership Series, let's deep dive into the topic for discussion, accelerating skills and infrastructure in automobility. We will turn to our distinguished panel of leaders and innovators who will share their insights on how together we can continue to strengthen the ecosystem. Please join me in welcoming our panelists. Joining us first is Ms. Priya Bhargava, a dynamic leader whose journey spans the automotive industry, management consulting, and the development sector, from contributing to the launch of the Tata Indica Vista at Tata Motors to driving large-scale skill development and policy initiatives. Priya has made her mark across diverse domains. Today, she leads strategy and development at TNS India's foundation, empowering marginalized youth through skilling and employability programs. We warmly welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Arpish Sharma, the Chief Executive Officer of the Skill Council for Green Jobs. With a strong background in renewable energy, banking, and strategy, he has been instrumental in shaping India's green skill ecosystem. Under his leadership, SCGJ has built international collaborations with institutions like the World Bank and the German Solar Association, promoting sustainability and global workforce mobility. We are delighted to welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much. It's a
Up
pleasure to
next,
be here.
thank you, sir. Up next, we have Mr. Nitin Khindria, Chief Human Resources Officer at Omega City Mobility, with over 25 years of leadership across industries like automotive, EV, FMCG, healthcare, and education. He is nationally recognized HR strategist and alumnus of XLRI. Nitin has won multiple CHRO leadership awards and is known for driving transformation, digital HR solutions, and high performance cultures. We are delighted to welcome you, sir.
Thank you, please. I'm looking forward to learn.
Joining us next is Mr. Pranay Prakash, CHRO at Blue Wheels, with 20 years of experience shaping people strategy for high growth investor backed startups. From scaling team 10x to cutting costs by 40%, he has consistently built HR into a growth engine, recognized among top 50 CHROs and HR 40 under 40. Pranay is passionate about culture building, governance, and future ready HR solutions. We are delighted to welcome you, sir. And now it is my privilege to introduce our moderator for the day, Mr. Sumit Kanchan. He is an automobile engineer, researcher, and motorsports mentor with over a decade of expertise in IC engines, alternative fuels, and EV technologies. A former assistant professor at LPU, he has guided students to more than 86 motorsports awards and mentored 8 startups, generating over 3 crore revenue. With multiple patents, publications, and editorial roles at CRC Press, he continues to bridge academia and industry in the field of sustainable automotive engineering. And now I would like to hand over the dais to Mr. Kanchan, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nikhil, for the kind introduction. Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm clearly audible to all, please. Yeah, I hope I'm clearly audible. Anyone confirm, please?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
Sumit, we
Yes,
can
yes,
hear
sir.
you.
Yes, you are.
You are audible,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
All right, sir. Let me start with this. I welcome all my distinguished panel members from different industries. It's truly inspiring to be here today, where we are not just discussing mobility, but shaping the very futures of India's workforce in EVs and clean energy. Our distinguished panel brings together voices from Skill Council, HR leaders, manufacturing, logistics, and development organization, each carrying a unique perspective on how we can drive this green transition. With this note, I welcome again all our distinguished panel members from the various sectors of industry. Let's quickly dive straight into the conversation. My first question is from Mr. Arpit, sir. Sir, as CEO of the Skill Council of Green Jobs, you are at the forefront of the India's green skilling mission. How do you see green skill development shaping the future workforce in the automobility sector, especially with EVs and clean energy becoming mainstream?
Thank you so much, Sumit for asking this question and inviting me here. So I would like to, you know, go to a small background about the country. So India in 2014-15 had an ambitious target of 175 gigawatts of renewable energy to be installed. And during COP26 at the United Nations Frameworks for Climate Convention, this target was revised, and India pledged that we would have 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel capacity to be installed. 50% of our electrification demands would be met through non-fossil fuels. India would reduce 1 billion tons of carbon emissions by 2030, and India would be net zero by 2070. So reduction of 1 billion tons of carbon emission is a huge target. And today, as a country where we are the third largest polluter, although our per capita emissions are not very high, but still we are treated as the third largest polluter. But we are nowhere responsible for this stock of greenhouse gases that are they're stacked in the atmosphere. We are no more, we are nowhere responsible for this. We have to develop just like other developing countries, and here we are, in this journey. Definitely, we want to transform our energy systems to much cleaner systems, whether it is automobile or it is renewables or it is conventional energy. We want to transform, but that would take time and it requires a lot of international technology transfer as well as funding. So in 2015, Skill Council for Green Jobs was set up as a after effect of COP21, where it was felt by the ministry that there's a need to have a separate sector skill council on renewable energy and catering to the EV sector also in future. So this council was established, and what we primarily do is we do a skill gap study. Like in the EV domain, we have created curriculums in the area of solar EV charging station, and we have trained more than 1,000 candidates through our channel of affiliated training partners across the India. And this project was supported by UNDP. This qualification was supported by UNDP, and today we also aim to actually we are collaborating with one of the research organizations, C40 Cities, where the whole occupational mapping in the EV domain has been done with them, and we have identified close to 90 job roles that, with this transition, these are the 90 new jobs and new kinds of jobs that would come, in the EV sector. And we have also identified that how many jobs would be created by 2030 in the EV domain. So these are some of the initiatives that, a Skill Council for Green Jobs has taken. Uh, Research, training, capacity building, and then we have done um, these 1,000 people who have been trained. They have been all assessed and certified and given a government certificate. So we have started moving in this direction, and we plan to have uh, close to 5,000 trainings each in the EV domain done in this financial year. So we are very set on the target. We are absolutely working steadily towards it. So these are some of the initiatives that have been taken.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, sir. You have already set an inspiring journey and a powerful vision. Of course, collective efforts of all will help achieving these targets, as you mentioned. We are already
Right.
seeing visible results and wishes to see many more to follow. Uh,
Right.
Now, may I bring Miss Priya Bhargav? Ma'am, your work at TNS India Foundation is rooted in employability, as highlighted by Arpit, sir. How do you see foundations and development organization bridging this vision with real on-ground impact for students and job seekers?
Thanks for that question, Sumit. And I also did want to acknowledge your team for putting together a panel that has got different voices in the room. So I think that's really important when we look at this more holistically. So before I get into the question that you asked, just for context, a little bit about TNS India Foundation is that we are a nonprofit organization. Coincidentally, just next Saturday, we turn 13. So we are a 13-year-old organization now. At the root of everything that we do is economic transformation, right? So we are here to enable economic transformation for those who are the most marginalized. And this could mean different things in different contexts, right? So for example, if you look at the urban, peri-urban regions, there is a significant need for working with students, especially those who come from marginalized backgrounds and who are typically first generation learners. In their families, they don't have somebody who's generally worked in the formal sector, very new to the sector, move them from typically informal base to a typically formal base. So that's, training and placement is something that we're enabling. On the rural side, we work with farmers because in rural India, it's extremely important to work on farmer livelihoods and access to markets as well as access to finance. So if I look at what economic transformation means in the context of the subject today, right? What we have seen is that there is a significant gap today in the skills that students are bringing to the table and the speed at which uh, the industry is changing. Right? It wasn't so till a few years ago, right? But in the past decade or so, we see that the rate of change is as exponential as we are seeing that it is, and which also means then that there are newer skills that are required. There are newer job roles that are coming in. Arpit, you mentioned that you've identified 90 plus job roles that will come in for electric vehicles alone. But the curriculum today is not adapted to make that possible. Right? So I'll talk about one of our programs we've been successfully implementing. This is a program that was initially focused on industrial and manufacturing sector. In the kinds of jobs that are coming up in the electric vehicle space and also in the solar space, the program has also pivoted to include these kinds of jobs. Right? What that means is that we go into colleges, primarily ITIs, with the students who are training to for their vocational trades. We train them to help place them in industry. From I think from the perspective of how can foundations kind of help bridge this gap, I think our responsibility is to work with industry because we can't be delivering a curriculum that is not aligned with industry. So the industry alignment as well as our agility to reflect any technological advancements that are happening. I think that is very, very critical. I think there is sound from your end, I think, Sumit, if you could maybe go on mute. I think like Arpit also mentioned, it's also important to train students for the job roles that are in demand. So, for example, simple example of an EV technician or somebody who understands battery management. I think that is something that is very critical. And these students who are learning to be in their vocational trains today in ITIs are not getting that kind of exposure. I think another thing that has been important in the success of our program, because we have successfully been able to train students and place over 70% of them in industry and across primarily the west and south regions of the country. One other element that we found I think, very critical to that training is their ability to do hands-on training. If there were simulation labs or there were real life vehicles that they could actually train on, and it doesn't have to be a very high-end lab. within a small amount also, if you can set up a simulator, and we've been doing that to support from our funders, that hands-on simulation and hands-on training, I think, is also very critical. I'd also say that working in a country that is as diverse as India is, local contexts are very different, right? So if I go into a Pune, which has a significant automotive hub, or I go into a Hosur, which also has significant hub. Whereas if I go into a Palanpur, which doesn't have that hub, right, my approach needs to be different to suit that local context. Right? And what does that mean, right? So, if, for example, when we went to a few of the cities to assess the need for, EV kind of training, what we realized is the local industry there doesn't have jobs in the electric vehicle sector. Right? And in some other parts of, say, Gujarat, students are not really in a position to move, or they're not able to, or not willing to, even culturally, migrate to another place, even like Sana. Right? So if we were to train them in a location that is different, uh, it's not only enough to train them, right? But there needs to be a significant amount of student counseling as well as family counseling that shows them, what their career pathway can be like for them to even be interested in coming into these jobs. And I think that has been a very critical component of our intervention. Right. I think when we look at skilling, it's also important to not look at it only from a technical skilling perspective, right? The soft skilling component is also something that is very critical, because the students, especially the kind that we work with, right, these are students who are typically coming from very, very marginalized backgrounds with no exposure to the formal sector. With these students, I think communication becomes a challenge. Working in teams becomes a challenge. Working together as a group and following instructions does become a challenge, just by virtue of them not being exposed to that. So I think working on soft skilling along with technical skilling, I think that's been important for us. And while I say all of this, this is primarily the intervention on the training side. Right? But however, the ITIs that we work with, and typically the lower ITIs, right, don't have a connect with industry. So they're not able to mobilize the Tata Motors or a Mahindra or component manufacturers either to come to campus and recruit their students. And that, I think, another important component of our program, where we are enabling placements for these students, right, and also building capacity within the ITI to enable these kinds of placements. Because it's not enough to only train the student. Unless the student gets a real job and actually moves into the formal sector, that economic transformation is not happening. Right? So I think that whole piece of training and placing students, I think, has been something that is important. I also want to leave the room here with one more thought, and this is, I think, also something slightly more personal. I'm reflecting back to 23 years ago when I joined Tata Motors. We were two women in a batch of 32, right, on the shop floor, right? Today, when I go to ITIs, I see a very similar proportion. So that shift has not happened. Right? While a large part of TNS India Foundation's work is to enable economic transformation also for different genders, we haven't seen much of that in the ITI space, purely because the students who enroll into ITIs, there is a very significant gender gap over there too. Right? And I think that is something that I don't have a solution to as an organization or even personally, but I wonder how that could be different as we build more electric vehicles in the country. Just wanted to leave that thought as well.
Rightly pointed, ma'am. Excellent efforts and initiative taken by the TNS India Foundation, ma'am, which is not directly touching the life, but also giving many a vision to grow. Of course, hands-on training, as you mentioned, ma'am, is creating a difference in ground outputs. And we hope students watching this will take inspiration and move forward with a more powerful and impactful vision. But as you summarize, challenge exists. Let us take this from HR strategy to the factory floor. Mr. Nitin Kendra, as CHRO at Omega Seki Mobility. Sir, what challenges do EV manufacturers face when it comes to creating strong, future-ready talent pipelines?
Okay, so thank you, first of all, for inviting me and allowing me to share what I'm experiencing. Right? I work with the companies which are into the IC engines, automotive, tractors, commercial equipment, construction equipment. and today it's EV, right? Um, so not only from the talent side, but how we the mindset of the talent. That's a major challenge which we have. Okay, and when I say that mindset of the talent, if we are looking for an EV industry talent, but who is interviewing them? Who is training them? Right? What kind of an structural systems they are coming from? That's another challenge with us. When we talk about the integration of the systems, EV has a very simpler form if we talk about it. Battery, powertrain, clusters, motors, and you have to integrate. Okay. Wire harnessing from the 12 watt to 40 volts and the different combinations of the battery and the power transmission, you need to integrate. And the major problem with the manpower is the integration. And that's the thoughts and actions which has to integrate first of all. So someone is sitting in my R&D now, because we are not Mahindras, we are not Tatas, we are not getting the benefit of PL&I schemes or the LI schemes, right? And these days, sorry to quote this, but we got our budgets based on the commercialization value, right? It's not on a real budget. It's all prescribed budgets. Okay. So like you are going to a doctor and he gives you the prescribed things that these many tests, diagnostics you have to go through. And from these are the labs which you can get through. So that kind of a budgets we are getting it. Okay. Whole of the economic systems has to be changed. When we talk about the skilled sector councils, so-called, tell me in last decade, which one is the one electric vehicle skilled sector council we have? And we have probably we have one of the thought that I can do this, I can do that, I can do this and that also. So we try to bring in a lot of combinations and the compositions, right? But I think business is not that. Business has to be black and white. When we make any kind of policies, how many mechanics, how many drivers, how many service providers, how many vendors, how many infrastructure providers we are including when we are designing the policy, either within the organization or outside the organization. So what we learn in OSM that we need to understand our customer first. If it's an internal, then I have to understand my supplier, right? My vendor capabilities. And I think one of the thing which I noticed in this also that we are not talking about the capacity building. Capacity building that you get the 500 crores and build any kind of a capacity. We are talking about the capability building here also. Okay, there isn't a huge difference between the capability building and the capacity building. Capacity building, anybody can put the money and then bring in that kind of an infrastructure. But capability building, as Priyaji also said, that it's not only the technical capabilities, but it's on a soft capabilities also. And there might be the emotional capability also. The sovereignty has to be established among the different channels because every system is talking to another system. And if that integration is not going to happen, we are going to fail. From last 7 years, we have a lot of challenges we have faced, but we have come up with the different solution. I think OSM is the one company who started with the commercial cargoes, and then we have given the lot of different projects in the commercial cargoes also. We were the innovators also. We failed also, right? It doesn't mean that we haven't failed, but that improvisation, innovation is in our nerves now. We have come up with the passenger vehicles. Now, passenger vehicles, it's not only the product challenges which we have. We have finance challenges, right? That's the finances, the new age finances which are coming up. Today, they are giving you some commitments. Tomorrow, they are out of the market. So these are the challenges which you need to look into now. Delays in payment, delays in the circulation of the payment. That's the another challenge which I think. You do the partnership with one of the battery manufacturers, and then that battery manufacturers got closed. So your whole of the supply chain gets impacted and affected. So you need to have enough combinations of many things. And I think the biggest challenge with the talent is another one. Earlier, we have this kind of a challenge at 500 rupees. If we give to worker, he is shifting to another. But today, you give an offer to one candidate, and probably he is looking on the same day. He will update his CV. He will send his CV to 10 different. Either he is a IIT guy, he is a IM guy, or a local institute guy. Everyone is looking only for one thing. That will I get my jump? I know a number of people gives me a CV and says that I'm at an X salary. I said, okay, how many months you have served there? They said that, okay, 2 to 3 months. Okay, I said, why you are looking for a change? They said, sir, I want to build a career with you. I have heard many things about you. You are a stalwart, this and blah. I said, okay, come to the point. What is your salary? He says this, or she says this. And then said, okay, you are earning very great salary. I can't burn my money on the salaries because I have to sell my three-wheeler at an X amount, right? If I will give you this much, my EBITDA margins will get hit. I don't know how many of HR understand the EBITDA margins and the PAT and the different financial ratios and the financial modeling, but for me it is important. Every process has to be. And then in the last they says, sir, can I get this much increase? I said, sorry. So we all need to understand the responsibility which we have on our shoulder. We are accountable for not doing the business today. Are we building the business for tomorrow or not? Every year we have almost 40 million graduates getting graduate every year, which means that for another 40 years they need career. By sitting on this chair, am I providing that kind of a career opportunity for next 40 years or not? If I'm not, I should not sit on the CHROC. That's the only thing which I can say. So I think the talent also need to understand that as that it's an automatically you need to upgrade yourself. You need to upskill yourself. You need to unlearn many things, right? As an professional, yes, today also I'm unlearning many things. But at the same point of time, I need to understand that business runs with the common goal. And I can't make the 100 policies for Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Gen Beta. No, I need to make the policies for the business, not for generation. So somebody like me, somebody doesn't like me, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, continuity of check matters. In my pocket, the monthly in salary coming to my account or not. We are not looking for a one bull check, right? I'm not into the share market or anything else. So this I think it's a joint responsibility for all of us that let's get the integrity high. Whatever we are doing, wherever and whatever contributions we are making, it should be on high on integrity. We are responsible or accountable for making this country develop. And this can be only happen when we have in high on integrity thoughts and action. So this is my say.
Yeah, rightly pointed, sir. Mindset is the key. Before system, it's the mindsets which creates the difference. And that's an honest feedback which you just gave, and we believe that these will be worked upon soon with more promising capabilities. You talked about cargoes and supply chain challenges, and it connects well to the logistics. Mr. Pranay Prakash, as CHRO of Blue Wheels, your industry is seeing rapid EV adoption. How do you address this balance of upskilling existing drivers and technicians, which is pointed by Nitin sir, while also attracting new age operational talent?
All right, thank you for getting me in. But we need to understand, I mean, when we talk about EV adoption, right? Why is there so much fuss about it, right? If you look at it, say maybe 5, 7 years back, it was more of a fashion thing, right? To get an EV, it looks nice, it is an imported vehicle, and so on and so forth, right? That's not the case anymore because it's become a necessity. It is becoming a necessity. You said in the introduction, we are the third, fourth largest polluter in the whole world, right? Look at the cities. I stay in NCR, And I don't think there's a worse city in this world than NCR to be in. We are approaching the months of October, November, December, the worst possible months in NCR, right? So it's a necessity thing. So the switch to the EVs is for the impact, not for the fad or the fashion of it, right? Now, impact is a long-term aspect. It does not happen overnight. It will not happen tomorrow morning, right? And obviously, there are baby steps to be taken. Uh, and it is also important to understand where we started, right? So whatever we do, the way this entire economy works was on a take, make, waste kind of a model, right? You take something, you make something out of it, and then you junk it away, you throw it away, right? From there, you need to move to a circular economy, right? Uh, where you can reuse, recycle, keep on reusing it n number of times and get the maximum out of a product before you decide what to do with it, right? So that cycle is going to be even much longer. When it comes to the skill sets and the infrastructure, right? We are at the very, very basic nascent. The EV penetration in this country is less than 2% right now, despite all the PLIs and schemes and the Mahindras and OSM and everybody getting into it. The EV penetration is less than 2%, right? Which is the thing actually. The first target is 30 at 30, right? Then the Prime Minister talks about Viksit Bharat at 2047, right? And there's global pressure for these targets. These are not numbers which have popped up in thin air, right? There's a whole lot of pressure from the Western countries saying, okay, you've been a developing nation for way too long now. You have burned too much of the environment. You are a developed country now. So will not give you any grants or aids and stuff like that. Be ready to call yourself and acknowledge yourself as a developed economy. So after 2047, we're not going to consider you as a developing economy anymore. And that is why the 2030 at 30 or 2047, those years keep on getting thrown up every now and then. What we are, so while the penetration is as low as it is, the major pollutant on the vehicular segment is the cargo part of it, right? And that is where OSM comes into picture, or the skill council that we are talking about, or the work that Priya has done or is doing currently, right? Uh, what we are training people on, and we're still lagging on that, by the way. While I say this, we're still lagging on that. We are training people on the muscle skills right now, which is how to drive an EV, how to maintain an EV, how to fix an EV if it breaks down, right? These are all muscle skills, right? And we are lagging behind on that also, right? Like the Green Job Skill Council may claim or may say that, okay, we have just started, but we have trained 1,000 people so far. I employ over 1,500 drivers every day on the road, right? So that number itself is much higher. If I go to my previous organization, which is Delivery, one of the largest transporters in the country, I can go to transporters like Blue Dart, All Cargo Gati, Mahindra Logistics, TCI, VRL, All Cargo Logistics, uh, Safe Express, DTDC, Delivery, so on and so forth, right? Every name that I've taken, they're my clients, which means that if there is enough capability and infrastructure available, I can convert 5,000 more ICE vehicles into EVs in maybe next 3 months, right? But do I have so all the OEMs can get together and manufacture those EVs, right? Which is again an unlikely scenario. But do I have the drivers to drive those EVs? Right now, what is happening is you are hiring drivers who have typically been ICE vehicle drivers, right? And the biggest problem with ICE vehicle drivers is half of them consider themselves to be engineers only, which they are not, right? So something goes wrong with the vehicle and they quickly will open up the bonnet and they'll say, let me fix this. Now what happens is, since EV is a compact kit, EV engine is a compact kit, they open the bonnet and they say, oh, I'm lost. What to do with this, right? Which means that there's room for enough and more technicians, right? Battery we spoke about. Now, the on the commercial side, though it's a no-brainer right now because we are still kind of going into that transition. On the passenger vehicle side also, the I think the strongest battery that is available is about 74 or 75 kilowatt, and that too is a BYD which is imported, not built here, right? Which gives you a I think 530, 540 kilometer of range, right? Now with a 530, 540 kilometer of range, how do you expect to transport something from Nalagarh near Chandigarh, which is a manufacturing hub, to the JNPT in Mumbai? That distance is 1600 kilometers. Do you have enough slow and fast chargers? Now, if I go to ASM or Tata or Eicher or Ashok Leyland and all these OEMs are our partners, we use their vehicles, we procure their vehicles, right? They say for every two fast charges, you should do one slow charge on your battery so that the cell alignment does not get disturbed, right? Now, why? Because the slow charge will take me anywhere from 6 hours to 8 hours, which means my transit time increases by that much, which means that a lot of work still needs to be done on the battery end of it. Right. A Tata Ace may very nicely, it's the most vanilla vehicle for want of a better example. A Tata Ace is the most vanilla vehicle. It will give you 100-120 kilometer range, not more than that. Right. In a fully loaded kind of a variant, a 1 tonner, 1.2 tonner kind of, right? Now that distance is insufficient if you want to cover the entire NCR during the day. 120 kilometers is lost because there are certain dead kilometers also, right? Or there are certain dead miles also. So from building muscle skills, which we are struggling with right now, to getting people to a stage where you actually start uh, pulling them towards uh, what is a complete mix of, say, technology, right? Uh, Data-driven capabilities. I mean, there are a whole lot of IoT devices. Now every vehicle comes with an IoT device. It gives you a driver pattern, behavior pattern, braking pattern, battery, SOC compliance, all of that, right? How much of it is being used? I'll tell you where this is being used. The moment you send the vehicle to a workshop of the OEM, the first thing that they do is to plug in their own system and say, hey, your charging was not proper, so the warranty is void. Right. But why would you not do that before the vehicle went into the workshop in 6 months or 1 year time? Right. Or whatever device that the workshop guy uses, can that device not be given to the end user also? Maybe at a subsidized rate, maybe in an OPEX model or whatever it is, right? So that there is a constant check on that. By the time the vehicle reaches the workshop once in a year or once in 6 months, the damage is already done, right? The maximum battery warranty that somebody gives is 6 years, 7 years right now. And that also has not been tested for 6-7 years, right? That testing is yet to happen. I've bought a vehicle 2 years back. 5 years from now, I'll come to know whether that is relevant or not, or whether the battery is lasting that long or not. Right. And in an electric vehicle, the best thing about electric vehicle is the costliest part is your battery right now. Right. As no for a 10 lakh four-wheeler, your battery would cost 6.5 lakhs. Right. You'll if you need the vehicle to be amortized over a longer period of time and used for a longer period of time, the battery has to come down to 1.5 to 2.5 lakh maybe, right? But then that's the tech side of it. Who's doing that research, right? We spoke about demand aggregation, right? As to what 90 job roles and all of that, right? I know of sector skill councils who have been training people in the country, but sending them to the UAE, to the Germans, to the Japanese, right? And it's the same driver fraternity that I'm talking about. Now, are these sector skill councils not the basic purpose of this sector skill councils was not to complete our own supply first, right? Why would you let them supply to some other country while you are struggling? And then you say that in 20 years you have to adopt to everything and you have to change the entire world. It does not change like that, right? So battery is just one example of how to manage fleet operations, right? What do you, so you, if there are large fleet operators, and fleet operations is a role which has never been an aspirational role for people. Nobody grows up in school or college to say, I'll grow up and become a fleet operator. like people say, will grow up and become an engineer or a doctor or a CA or whatever. Nobody says I'll grow up to become a fleet operator, right? How do you imbibe that into somebody? Is there a program into fleet operations? There's none. If you study logistics, and a couple of IIMs and large institutions have started teaching logistics, but if you look at the curriculum focuses primarily on marine side of it. Right now, I have to run operations in Delhi NCR. What do I do with a marine logistics guy? Right, so that part of curriculum is absolutely useless for me. There are a couple of smaller colleges that I visited who said, no, no, we have a separate engineering program in EV. My obvious next question was, who helped you design that program? No, no, we designed it ourselves. Now, a professor who was a mechanical engineering professor, where did that professor himself or herself get the wherewithal or the know-how of an EV ecosystem, right? Why is that? Why is that curriculum even going to be relevant to me? Right? It's not. So fleet operations, driver, frontline workforce skills, green and sustainability skills, right? That's again very, very important. I generally talk about the skills of the future because if there's a skill lacking today, you'll not plan for it, you'll figure out a way to work around it, right? Because that is your immediate problem. For an immediate problem, you don't plan 3 years from now, right? But what happens when the batteries are 5 years old and they start becoming defunct? What do they not turn into e-waste? Is there a ecosystem already working, or is there an ecosystem being developed to plan how to convert them into battery parks where you can store energy and then transfer it into a different form? Right? There are a couple of people doing it at a very, very small scale, but not in a structured fashion. Right? So that's another future skill which is required. All the research and development that we are doing on the battery side of it, on the EV side of it, right? Where is that research and development coming from? I mean, my simple thing is go to the top 5 transporters in the country, right? Ask them how many vehicles you are going to use, and not only how many vehicles, the form factor of those vehicles: three-wheelers, four-wheelers, six-wheelers, 7 tonners, 10 tonners, 32 footers, everything, right? What is the mix that you will consume in next 2 years? And then start manufacturing. I know by virtue of working with a number of OEMs, I know for a fact that they figure out that, okay, this is the three-wheeler that I am capable of building. I'll build, say, 10,000 three-wheelers and push them into the market. Somebody or the other will use, right? This is exactly the approach which is responsible for where Zip or an Ola is heading right now. Because they pumped in so many two-wheelers into the market. City after city are turning into a graveyard of two-wheelers now. Right? Because they started giving it to delivery boys, right? And if you order something on Zomato, you'll probably notice once in a while your rider is driving an EV. Do you have any idea how the driver drives a two-wheeler? He drives it as if he's driving it to save his life, right? A two-wheeler EV on a bumpy road, it's a very, very delicate vehicle. The vehicle has no strength, no possible strength at all. And that is why Zip has 15,000 vehicles lying in Delhi NCR, another 20,000 lying in Bangalore, right? And many more in other cities, larger cities. And similar is the story with Ola also, right? So these are problems which we are facing now because we have just started on that journey. We are at the very, very nascent stage of the journey. To be more upfront, the journey is possibly not even started right now. Right? We don't even know where we are headed, right? This requires, the PM says we have to plan for 2047. How many of us, either on this panel or in our network outside, who are in the same or similar industry, have a plan for 2047? We don't. We have a plan for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year maybe. 1 year because there is AOP that you prepare because you have to show it to your investors and you try to stick to the AOP. Nobody thinks beyond that. If somebody comes and says, I have a 5-year plan, the remaining 4 years are absolute junk because they'll change 5 times over or probably 50 times over. We are not planning 3, 6 or 12 months ahead, right? When we are talking about making an impact by 2047, right? Digital and data skills, right? Uh, I met a couple of CTOs from some of these large organizations, the IoT manufacturers and all of that, and they said, no, no, we put a lot of AI in my IoT. right? Or the way I present my data. Like the basic usage of your IoT is 2, 3, 4% of all the data that you capture. There are millions of data fields that are captured onto a server for every 100 vehicle that you apply for the entire month. Your customers are not able to use 2, 3% of that data also right now because you have not trained them enough, right? You have not trained them on how to make good sense of that data. And you have gone to AI because AI is a fad today. Seriously, I mean, why does that vehicle need to do an AI on its data when the basics are not in place right now? The poor customer is struggling to solve basic problems with the IoT, right? Connectivity issue. You take an EV or a four wheeler, maybe a six wheeler to northeast. Half the northeast still does not have connectivity. I come from delivery. I've built delivery for 6 years. I've built the entire last mile network. I know that there are places in Sikkim, in Gangtok, there are places in northeast where the rider goes on a hilltop, delivers the shipment to some three families, comes down to a road where he has network and then marks the shipment as closed or delivered. Right. So those places don't have network. What IoT are you talking about right now? And when people are struggling with basics. So this is the infrastructure part of which needs to be created, right? We should, for all practical purposes, stop bothering about the skills which we are lacking today. Because today is already gone. By the time we complete this session, 1 hour will be gone. So today is over, done, dusted. You failed, you passed, whatever happened, happened. You can do nothing about it. Think about the skills which are about to come, right? Which you will need tomorrow, day after, in 3 months, in 6 months, in 2 years. Those are the skills that you can still manage or develop in people. Or go to colleges and offer them a curriculum, right? I mean, so look at all the logistics skill council, right? And Nitin is here. I mean, he's from the OEM side, right? He has a shop floor. He knows what is happening in the organization in terms of R&D, in terms of sales, in terms of maintenance, in terms of components, everything, right? I would like to get a viewpoint, and I'm not trying to control the discussion or moderate the discussion, but I would like to get Nitin's viewpoint on how many sector skill council guys have reached out to him saying, can you help us develop our curriculum? Can you tell some of your top technical guys who are working on your EVs to come help us develop a curriculum, right? And I'll be really amazed if Nitin's answer is yes, I have spoken to 10 people and they're doing something about it.
Right. So a lot of points were introduced for sector skill council. I'll get back to Mr. Sharma sir in a while. But uh, the things which are highlighted by this sir, those are very valuable insights. These deeply summarized from fleet operators to the technology upgrades impacting life. As mentioned, that EV is the necessity rightly highlighted. Your industry, sir, has been working at the center of this entire ecosystem. Impacts created are sounding well, aligned with the long-term vision of the country. Drivers drive most of our life these days, be it service to product deliveries. Your teams are directly winning over lives. With these said, that a lot of work has to be done in technology fields. This reminds me of AI. And as you questioned its integration happening these days, Mr. Khindra, with automation and AI reshaping production lines, what does the EV manufacturing workforce of the future look like? What new capabilities will be essential? Yeah, sir, I hope I'm audible. Mr. Khindra, sir. Yeah, Khindra, sir, am I audible to you?
Yeah, so you're asking me?
Yeah, sir, yes, sir.
Okay, so it's Kendria, so I thought that
Yes,
somebody
it is audible.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, no worries. Okay, some of the things which we need to understand, and I think Pranay, remember or not remember, but now I remember in one of the evening we met when he was working with delivery, if I'm not wrong, in Andaz Hotel, right? There, one of the founder came in, and that organizer was very happy that founder came in. He sold his one of the, what you call that, business in 10 crores, another in 100 crores. On that time, I said that I'm not in the market of selling myself. I'm here to build. Again, I'm saying this thing. When you talk about IoT, now are you going to use IoT in isolation and IoT as a way of life? Now, IoT gives you the number of data points. Are you sending that IoT data to your R&D for the product improvement, to your production guy for the production quality improvement, to your supplier, to your quality, to the get the changes done on the supplier end, to your service guy to help them to equip in their or upbringing their service capability? Are you sharing that kind of a data to your sales guy to make a sales pitch? See, we love to be in our own shell, and we think that we are the best, right? And that's the where corporates are lacking. When Pranay questioned this thing that on a very honest note, being into the HR especially, and colleges feel that I'm a recruiter, irrespective of college. Either it's a IM, B, C, or it's any of the Chaudhary Charan or Chaudhary Karan, whatever the. So they feel that I'm a recruiter. I'm a business guy, yeah. And especially I'm working with the promoters. I'm reporting to the Indian promoters who are contributing to the 69% of the Indian GDP. If today's Indian GDP is 4.2 trillion, then that 69% comes from the Indian business houses. And out of that business houses, I have reported to few. Okay, so one has to see that Indian Lala doesn't look at me as an HR guy because HR is the shameless job for him. He says, "यार तू मेरे को क्या सिखाएगा? That I have a 60,000 crore rupees in my pocket. Will you tell me how to run the HR or how to point the people? I have appointed you." But that's a mindset which we have. That mindset, again, I'm saying that we have to break down. Coming back to the fleet business, fleet is again, what we as an Indian loves it, a rupee saved, a 10 paisa saved. I'm sure when any company goes to the Pranay company, or we have a mobility company also, we also operate fleet, right? We also have a 1700 odd drivers with us. Now you have a yard, parking yard, which has a cost to me. Okay, forget about any other cost. Parking yard is a cost to me. And for parking on a 10 vehicles, you have to pay almost 35 to 40K, I think, if I'm not wrong. If that is into the center Delhi or the South Delhi, you may have to park more. So there are the number of things which you need to think of. Another day I have wrote on LinkedIn that see, this is the conceptual upbringingness which we need to bring in ourselves. 10-minute delivery. Why you need 10-minute delivery? That's mean you're telling people not to be organized, not to plan anything. And what you call in that 10-minute delivery? Ice cube, chips, nachos, to have your drinks, and the food items is sure. So that means if you're having a party at your home also, you can't plan. If you can't plan your party at home, how you are going to plan the business? And as Pranay said, 2047, oh my God. Then the global pressure is there that 2023, we were at if I'm not wrong, somewhere around 255 billion. And we have taken the target to reach to the 3 trillion or 2 trillion by 2033. So these numbers are very fascinating one, but why to make an unnecessary pressure on us? Then what happened to the elite industries which we have with IC? Where these people will go? Every day I am receiving, people are worried about the fresher hiring. I'm worried about the people who are at above 40. My full of WhatsApp and the mail is getting every day, and especially with the HR. Every second person in HR is looking for a job. I have so many CVs. Am I right, Pranayji? And I'm sure that Priyaji also has seen this thing. And you are talking about this these students, I'm ready to hire them, but are they ready to work? If you start reviewing these people, nowadays another culture I have seen in startup, the day you start reviewing people, they will say that this HR is arrogant. They are entering into our business, right? How he will tell me, see, I myself have done selling. I know what is exchange, what is the spare part management, what is the GSB metric, how the inventory has to be placed, what is the role of rotation in the spare part. Everything I done it by my own hand, dealer management. So B2B customers are very different and the B2C customers are very different. If you're taking on a vehicle out, it's on a breakdown. When you talk about the passenger vehicle, especially, or the cargo driver who is not running the fleet, but is running his own thing. If that vehicle is on a breakdown, it is a direct loss of his income. So how you are managing this thing, I think these are the pain area. Another pain area for India is we only love to follow the numbers, likes, followers, but we do not want to work on the design and development of the things. क्योंकि हमारे पास टाइम ही नहीं है इतना, सबको भागना है. स्किल सेक्टर कौन सी वो एनएसडीसी ने शुरू किया था ना, पता नहीं कौन कौन सा क्या क्या शुरू किया. Lot of people have made the money, but not on a single guy has reskilled or upskilled. This is my experience. So I think we should not fall into the running things only, but we should do something authentically with high level of integrity. This is my say, Pranay, for your things or for the Sumit Bhai thing.
And just on a lighter side, every second person is looking for the job because the first person is holding on to the legs of a manager, asking not to get fired. So that's the reason second person is looking for a job.
Or maybe first got it.
Right, sir. Right, sir. A lot of students are watching this session, sir. Can you please again revisit to my question that what does the EV manufacturing workforce of the future look like, sir? Kendriya, sir. What new capability?
Fantastic. It is fantastic, yeah. See, if you have a willingness to do a job, there are a lot many opportunities. But if you're only looking for a salary, right, and the things which as per your wish or desire, that's not required. Because if you're really serious about your career for next 40 years, so business has a job for you. Please understand this thing.
Right, sir.
Okay, so and just to add, Sumit, if I can, the EV industry, as I said earlier, also has just started, right? For all the students and for anybody who's listening to this, the industry is here to stay, right? Because this is the need of the hour. It's not a fashion thing anymore. It's a requirement. It is a mandate, right? People, if you follow government policies, state government after state government, they are changing policies. They are scrapping older vehicles and so on and so forth. They are giving subsidies for electric vehicles. In due course of time, when the usage increases, these subsidies will probably go away because of the adoption will increase. All that will happen. But the industry is there to stay for next 40, 50, 60, maybe 100 years also, right? In terms of manufacturing, and if there is somebody who wants to go into core engineering, either manufacturing or research and development are the two key areas that they should, prepare themselves for. For the simple reason that right now we are talking about a four-wheeler, which is the most commonly seen electric vehicle on the road, right? But there's enough and more room. So, for example, if you want to cater to the cement industry, now cement industry does not work on four-wheelers. They work on 32-feeters and larger vehicles, trawlers, and all those kinds, right? So, how do you make a vehicle big enough and sustainable enough to cater to the cement industry or steel industry for that matter, right? So, a lot of research and development needs to happen there. It is happening in some pockets, but there's a lot more room to happen, right? That is one part of it. Training skills, the motor skills, the other skills that I spoke about, driving and all that is fine, right? I mean, we'll keep it aside. The second biggest aspect is the maintenance of these vehicles, right? You would have heard of a number of companies, startups like Blue Wheels or OSM or Magenta or anybody who's there. They are either in the business of, they have entered either in the business of manufacturing vehicles or leasing vehicles or operating vehicles, right? So these are the three broad categories, right? There's nobody, not one startup which has entered into the space of maintaining electric vehicles. So tomorrow, for example, if somebody comes to me and says, okay, I'll charge you 200 rupees per vehicle per month, and I'll take care of all the maintenance of your vehicle, kind of an AMC for EVs, right? I'll be more than happy to do that. Now, whether that number is 200 or 400, 100, 600 is a different issue altogether, but just for an example. So the maintenance has become a very wide open space right now. Like ICE vehicles are there on the roads everywhere, right? So if you go on a highway, you'll find petrol pumps, right? There are highways where you'll find petrol pumps every 2 kilometers, probably, or maybe closer than that. You need to build a charging infrastructure network parallel to a petrol pump, right? Or probably much more dense than a petrol pump network, because to refill a large vehicle or to refill diesel in a large truck, it'll take you about 45 minutes, right? But to do a full charge on a battery of a vehicle of that size, it'll take you 10 hours roughly, maybe 12 hours also, right? Which means that the charging point concentration has to be much larger than what a petrol pump concentration would look like or spread would look like, right? So maintenance is an open space. Insurance is an open space. When we started, nobody knew how to insure electric vehicles, right? Water damage, right? Fire damage, very common in EVs, right? Because you have all electric parts, right? So, I mean, when I first approached an insurer, I said, okay, I need a water damage cover also. The insurer was kind of surprised कि सर फोर व्हीलर में वाटर डैमेज कौन लेता है. मैं कहा भाई ये गाड़ी बंद हो जाएगी. Ground clearance is 6 inches. The vehicle will shut down. There were rains in Gurgaon. If any of you are from Gurgaon, there were rains 2.5 weeks back, right? And the entire city was standstill. How many vehicles just stopped, right? I talk about maintenance because on the highways you'll find a local mechanic who's got no physical skill, no practical skills, but he chose to become a mechanic and he's learned everything by doing things, right? You'll find a mechanic everywhere that you go. You'll need that kind of a network focused on EVs, right? So the preventive service, the preventive maintenance, right? Now, how does somebody do preventive maintenance of an electric vehicle? Aisha tomorrow comes with a model and says, okay, you do not need your first service for first 10,000 kilometers. Now that is unheard of, right? But we'll test it out. Only time will tell whether it will run till 10,000 kilometers, right? But that preventive maintenance needs to happen. Fleet operations, as I said, right? So there are various kinds of job roles within the entire EV ecosystem, right? From on one side, there's the client who needs the EVs because clients don't buy vehicles by themselves, right? Amazon would not buy a vehicle, Delivery would not buy a vehicle, TCI would not buy vehicles. They'll all leased vehicles from various operators, right? On one side there are clients, then there are OEMs, then there are financiers, right? If these many vehicles are to be sold, then you need somebody to be financing those. The traditional banking system does not know how to finance EVs because it is new to them also, right? And that is where a lot of fintechs have come into it. Now the fintechs charge 16, 18, 20% of interest when they lease out money to you, as compared to an auto loan, which is at 10.5%. So the cost of operations goes very high, right? On the other hand, there are charging point operators, there are parking operators, there are hub operators. Can there be a shared hub? Like I think Nitin had mentioned at some point earlier in his discourse. We're trying to figure out, we are also doing research or I mean, sort of R&D with some people. Where can I create a hub which is solar powered? Now, a solar power hub will not help you charge your vehicles. That is absolutely clear for us because the power will be not enough, right? With the amount, you cannot take a 5,000 hectare of land, right? You'll take a small hub, you'll put solar panels and everything. It will not give you enough power to charge your vehicles. But can you feed it back to the grid and get a discount on your regular electricity charges? Right? That reduces your cost of operation and hence it makes a lot of sense to convert that hub into a solar powered hub while your vehicle is still being charged through traditional electricity supply only, but by feeding it back into the grid, you get discounts or you get rebates, right? So this entire ecosystem is there, which is yet to be developed, right? Uh, if we talk about that 2047 ka vision or 100% EV adoption across the country, trust me, the the country would need 10, 15, 20,000 companies like OSM or Blue Wheels or Magenta or so on and so forth. None of these companies is independently capable of running 1 lakh vehicles. And none of these companies even aspire to run 1 lakh vehicles, I'm very sure. I'm not talking about manufacturing, I'm talking about operating vehicles. If I operate 10,000 vehicles, I'll be super profitable, do my IPO, sell my shares, and I'll be very happy after that. Right. But if the entire ecosystem has to win, if that kind of impact has to be created, then you'll need 10,000 OSMs, you'll need 10,000 Blue Wheels, you'll need 10,000 uh, whatever Magenta or moving and so on and so forth. Right. So there's a huge ecosystem which is available. It is in a very, very nascent stage, which needs to be developed. Uh, Students today or who are graduating or who are aspiring to graduate and take a career in this kind of an ecosystem need to be very, very clear on what line they want to pursue. For the next 4, 5, 10 years, funds in this kind of industry will still be difficult to come in because companies will not become profitable that soon, right? And there will be struggles. I've done startups for the last 12 years. I know how the entire ecosystem works from 0 to 1 to 10 to 100 and beyond. There will be struggles. So that is the second mindset part which students need to keep in mind that, okay, there will be a struggle for the next 5 years, but what I'll learn in those 5 years, after 5 years, I'll make a boatload of money. So whether you are in it for the short run and you want to gain something tomorrow, or you want to make a lot of money and a lot of name and fame and skill for yourself in 10 years, that is the choice which people have to make, or people need to make rather, which will decide how successful or not successful they will become in this industry, which will in turn decide whether they should take up this industry or not at all.
I think
Right.
one thing for Pranay, thank you for, and one thing for students, or not only for students, for me also, right? It's a digitalization you need to learn. Whatever the input I'm giving to the organization, right? I'm in a process, I'm at a floor, I'm at a dealership, I'm at a mechanical workshop, or at an infrastructure, whatever I'm doing it. First is that I need to create a data, and how to use the data, that's very important. So that kind of a digital intelligence is required in each and every profile nowadays. Second thing is the communication is very important, because everything which I'm doing, मैं बैटरी ठीक नहीं कर सकता हूँ, because I'm not the battery manufacturer. I'm a buyer of battery, powertrain. Now I can't run or I can't service the powertrain, but the integration between the battery and the powertrain and the cluster and the motor, that actually I can learn. So I should not restrict myself that, okay, I'm knowing this, I will be expert in this. So today it is not like you are a welder or you are a tenter or you are a mechanical. So you need to have some kind of responsibility to learn more. That's more important. Second thing is communication and digitization you need to learn. As I said, that IoT data is coming to you, but you are looking into that control panel, right? And then you are not doing something on it. So it is shameless on me. So I need to tell people that, boss, this kind of an error if so and so is coming out. I can't name those errors because it's a confidential thing. But if that error is coming out and repeatedly coming to some vehicles, it means something is there to address. So are you giving that kind of a notification to require people or not? And are you learning that if I need to educate my driver or my user, how I need to do that? So that kind of a digitization is very important. Second thing is very important for each one of us today. We need to understand, are we making any kind of a contribution in the business or not? Because until as Pranay said, that cash flows, betas, they are in real pressing situation nowadays. So that's where I think each and every contribution matters. Each and every cost matter. So how you can take care of that thing? Wastage, reducing. हम पहले भी तो करते थे ना यार. FME में क्या करते थे? Lean management में क्या करते थे? Right. So that kind of a Kaizens, 5S which we have, I think we need to bring a lot of synergy within this system. That's my say to the students.
Right, so thank you for this message, sir. So abstracting EV maintenance startup by Pranay, sir, that point is noted, sir, and that could be a space as India can further push in, which they are already doing by training students in this area, but would for sure contribute towards supporting startups in this space. Thank you, sir. A lot of insights, constructive, suggestive actions for skill councils are summarized by all panel members. Looping back to the policy and skilling ecosystem, Mr. Sharma, what role do you see skill councils like SCGJ playing to ensure India's workforce remaining ahead of these disruptive changes?
I guess Harpreet Sharma had to leave due to some commitments at 5 o'clock. So I think we can go ahead with that.
All right. So my next question would be from Mrs. Bhargava. Partnerships are often bridge between ambition and action. How can corporates, governments, and non-profit collaborate more effectively to accelerate both skills and infrastructure for automobility?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Sumit. Just in response or kind of, to just take a bit of the earlier conversation ahead, I'd like to put in one perspective here too. Right now, if I look at the ITI students whom we work with, right, these are typically students who are coming from family backgrounds where the family income, annual family income, is sometimes less or most times less than 5 lakh rupees per annum. Right, so that's a very very difficult background that these students are coming from. Now, for that student, a typical ITI job role in traditional sectors is getting them somewhere between 15 to 17,000 rupees a month. It is a significant increase in the family income as a whole. Right? Now, if that student is going to get 2,000 or 3,000 rupees extra somewhere, honestly, I wouldn't blame the student to move if they move. Right? While I understand that it is important for them to stay on and to get the experience of that sector, I think the industry today, from what we see, is not also doing enough to retain students. Another example I can give you is when students are recruited under the NAP scheme, and this is typically again applicable to ITIs as apprentice when they're recruited in organizations. Most industries are not looking to recruit or keep on the same student for the year 2 or year 3, right? Because they get a new batch of students the next year, and a NAP student is typically costs the company lesser than somebody who's growing in the system. So I think there are challenges on all sides. To specifically, talk about what you mentioned, Smith, about partnerships and how these partnerships can work well together. I think there is, like I was mentioning, something that needs to happen from multiple sides. Right? So I think when I look at the government, primarily, I think one thing that has been important is for a government to, or a government body, and I'm taking the example of some of the states where we are working, to see proof of concept. Right now, if I look at our work in, say, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, we have gone through a few cycles of having trained and placed students in industry. And based on the success of these programs, we now have non-financial MOUs with these state governments, with the correct, the right departments within these governments to actually scale our model across these states, right? So having seen proof of concept, the government has become a willing partner to give us the permission to scale our program, and which is now going to help impact multiple ITIs and almost all ITIs across the state. So I think that proof of concept is very important. I think permission by the government is important, right? Because otherwise it becomes, when we are going into, to say implement the program in, say, a district in Gondia, right, in Maharashtra, or in Palanpur in Gujarat, unless there is a formal approval by the government, it becomes more difficult for us to mobilize colleges and convince them about the program. So I think the government permission to allow foundations such as us to implement programs, and successful programs at that, having seen that proof of concept, I think that is very critical. I think from an industry side, I think industry is already doing a lot of things, right? Some of the things that we have seen adding a lot of value, I think these apprenticeships for students or on-the-job training for students, and right now I'm talking in the context of ITI students primarily, because that's primarily the scope that we work with when it comes to this sector. I think these apprentice programs are very critical for students because it's the first time that they get an on-the-job kind of an understanding of what it is to even be in on a shop floor, right? So I think that is very important. A lot of good organizations also adopt ITS, and typically, the larger organizations. I remember when I was at Tata Motors and the passenger car unit, there were several ITI students who were part of our ecosystem already, right? And these students are then getting that exposure right then and there, and which is kind of helping them build that career. So if there is any more that industry can do in terms of adopting ITS, I think that would be great. Um, I think what also happens with a lot of students is that their exposure to the sector is very minimal. Right? So just exposure visits, inviting them into the organization to actually see a live shop floor has, in our experience, actually encouraged more students to not just make the move to the formal sector, but also stay on. It becomes aspirational for them to do that. Right? So I think that is something that we found to be very useful. I also feel that a lot of times industry works in bits and pieces, not exactly within the community. Right? So the interaction between community in general and say a factory that is in that community, beyond just the ITIs, even to create awareness in that larger ecosystem with families. Because if you look at these students, these are typically younger students, right? So they're 18, 20-year-olds. They're not taking that decision to join a job themselves. There is a lot of family influence in that decision making. So I think community involvement in, with industry is something that can create, I think, a lot of benefit for these students. Just raising that awareness. Another aspect I think which we have been doing quite significantly is just looking at curriculum and vetting curriculum, building curriculum, right, with organizations like ours, right? And I'm going to take the opportunity to reach out to other panelists on this forum here as well, once we are done here, because as an organization, I think we have developed a certain curriculum with industry, right? So that is changing. And I'm hearing some of the changes that are already happening on this panel as well, right? So how do we keep that, relevant, so that that student is then prepared for that particular job that is going to come, or at least a variety of jobs coming their way. So I think engagement in curriculum vetting and design could be something that is, that's useful. What we've also been doing is we run these programs in ITIs through funding from our donors, right? So we have a really good donors who've been supporting our program, like Standard Chartered, Accenture, Capgemini, Microsoft, and a variety of large and small donors have been helping us implement these programs. What also happens with that is they help us also set up labs, right? And these don't have to be large scale, multi-million dollar kind of engagement, right? But these are smaller scale simulator kind of labs, which actually help students get that uh, hands-on training. Okay? So I think working with organizations to set up labs and funding that effort, I think that makes a lot of difference. I think broadly there is enough and more scope for various players in this ecosystem to work together. And I'm glad that we are on a panel like this, which is bringing some of us together. But I also think that there's a lot more that needs to happen.
Right, thank you, ma'am. Multiple prospective work areas to work upon are summarized by ma'am. Direct results areas like apprenticeship is absolutely doable. Ma'am did touch upon a sync between the ground level working organizations like TNS India Foundation with waste with industry. As Priya ma'am highlighted about exposure sectors, Pranay sir, since logistic operates at the front lines of EV adoption, what new skill sets are becoming absolutely critical for employability in this sector?
Uh, there are multiple actually. One obviously is the R&D part of it, right? Because and again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not talking about the motor skills, the manual skills that people need right now, because that's an ongoing thing. But a slightly futuristic view is on uh, how do you develop better better vehicles, right? Or how do you create a better, more lasting battery? Or what do you do with the battery after it exhausts its life after 5, 6 years and does not turn into another pile of e-waste, right? Uh, are there any alternate sources of fuel that can be used, right? Because then battery charging power is required, right? And then we still have parts of the country which are struggling with power. How do you, so I mean, and some a role as simple as a sales role, right? I mean, which is they're rampant in every industry, every every product that is built needs to be sold also, right? Now selling a product to a metro audience versus selling the same product to a tier two audience, right? There's a lot of difference there because the tier two audience is, and in a product like ours, right? The tier two audience is more skeptic, more cost conscious. You'll probably not get enough realization on the vehicles that you deploy there. So how do you break that channel, right? Uh, and and so on and so there are multiple things, right? Uh, People talk about technology. You touched upon the use of AI in terms of the IoT ecosystem, right? Uh, Now, the tech also can be looked at in two, three ways, right? One is obviously on the manufacturing side of it, where people are doing R&D to create better vehicles, longer ranges, and less breakdowns, and so on and so forth, right? Second is people are developing IoT devices so that the vehicles can be tracked. You get a number of data feeds. Every decent IoT device gives you about 150 to 170, probably slightly more number of data points on every vehicle every day, right? So what do you do with that data? And that all again ties up to the analytics part of it, right? How do you create easy comprehending dashboards so that you can make sense of that data? A Excel sheet full of data will give you nothing, right? I mean, people like Nitin or I will not even look at that Excel sheet ever in our life, right? But we need that Excel sheet to be converted into something meaningful. So the data analytics part also is kind of driven from the data that you generate using the IoT devices. And then it is about the entire platform which is created, right? For a very simple example, and one of the success stories, I'm not specific to EVs, but then they are also pushing into EVs now, is Porter, for example, right? Uh, they only have a platform. Porter does not own one single vehicle, right? But then we work with Porter in a full-time capacity where we find drivers, we get vehicles, and we place them on Porter's platform. Porter uses its technology to go to the extent where they can share with us the heat maps of where they are generating orders, which areas should we deploy vehicles in, whether it is NCR or parts of NCR or Mumbai or parts of Mumbai or Bangalore or parts of Mumbai. That helps me place more vehicles, employ more drivers, generate more revenue, and that helps Porter to kind of serve their customers, right? So it is only a platform which is there. It is aggregating a lot of maybe thousands of people on the platform, right? Drivers, riders, and so on. Now, when companies like us or companies like OSM or any other such company, Magenta, Moving, and so on and so forth, when we develop the tech in-house, right? We develop the tech to cater to our needs primarily, right? Saying, okay, what do I get out of this? What kind of visibility do I get out of it? What kind of analytics do I get out of it? What kind of dashboards do I get out of it, right? But if the mindset, if the mindset can shift a bit, right, to be able to be able to take it to the level where, okay, so like I said, right, I mean, India will need maybe 10,000 companies like us to achieve the overall goal that it has, right? All those 10,000 companies will need the technology platform, right? Can I build a tech to that scale where I can, on one side, there is a vehicle revenue, an operating revenue that I get, and on the other side, I am able to monetize my tech also, right? And offer tech as a SaaS product, a vehicle ecosystem SaaS product, right? Because I have built that tech. I am the one of the early movers into this space. I know what are the challenges that I have gone through or my organization has gone through. I have solved for those challenges. There's no need for somebody else to come and solve the same problems again and again. Right. And if I can charge an X amount for that technology platform and lease out that platform to somebody, for me, that's a never-ending source of revenue. And the other person can the new company can hit the ground running from day one with all the tech and setup and everything. I would have integrated with 20 IoT providers by then probably, or maybe more than that, right? Does not matter if the vehicle is from Tata or Eicher or Mahindra or OSM or somebody else or Switch for that matter, right? So these are the three, four aspects that I think we need to keep in mind, right? Uh, and I think in the next 30, 40 years, there is a lot to be done. There's a lot of money to be made. right? By every single individual who gets into this. One thing that we should remember is that not everybody will become an entrepreneur or not everybody will become a founder or a co-founder. As fancy as the title may sound, not everybody is made for that kind of a role. It takes a lot of great determination, numerous rounds of failures to be able to come back and to be able to bounce back and then become somebody and then be able to make a organization, right? We have heard a lot of products like that we use, right? I mean, Amazon we use, Flipkart, uh, I don't know, maybe Google, all these are Facebook, WhatsApp, right? These are some of the products which are there on everybody's smartphone today, right? But one common theme is that all these products were made outside and adopted in India. So we are contributing to that revenue. We are not generating revenue, right? The only product that I can think of right now off my head, which is India made, but has gone global, is possibly Zoho. Right. Apart from that, I cannot think of any other name which is India made, made in India, but for the world. Right. Everything which is made here is being consumed here because our own needs have not been fulfilled so far. Right. So that's the kind of mindset that people need to have. I think for young professionals, early career professionals, it's very, very important for them to have a shift in that mindset to create something for scale. Why does Seattle or why does there exist a Silicon Valley in the world, right? And why do all big companies operate out of Silicon Valley, right? Why cannot a new operating system or an MS kind of an operating system originate from maybe Gorakhpur in UP, right? One, because obviously funds and infrastructure and all of that. The bigger problem is the thought process, right? Zoho does not have a big corporate office in Bangalore or Bombay or Delhi, the traditional metros, right? They still operate from Coimbatore and Chennai and Salem and those kind of smaller cities, right? I have invested in a bunch of startups which are operating out of smaller cities because the talent is available, right? Who do you think goes and works for a TCS? If you look at the entire workforce of a TCS or an Infosys or a Wipro, majority of their population comes from cities like Indore, Bhopal, Lucknow, Patna, Kanpur, those kind of Jaipur, those kind of cities. And hence it made a lot of sense for TCS to go to Lucknow and open a center there so that you stay closer to home and it helped them reduce their cost also. Because if you want somebody to survive in Bangalore, you cannot pay them 20,000 rupees. But if you pay them 25,000 rupees, they'll survive in Lucknow and be very happy about it because they are at home or closer to home. Right. So that kind of thought process needs to change very drastically for all of our students and early career professionals. Be very clear in what is the aspiration that you have. Uh, it sounds very fancy to become a founder and write a founder in front of your name, right? But then having worked with so many of them, and I'm sure Nitin will also agree because he comes from a similar background. We have seen founders and we know what metal they are made out of. Not everybody is cut out to be a founder, right? So there are enough and more opportunities available on the tech side of it, on the product side of it, on the research and development side of it. So somebody who's a truly academic bent of mind is an absolute good fit for the research and development part of it. Right, you put a workshop manager and ask him to sit into an R&D lab, he'll go mad because he's not cut out for that. If he does not fight with a customer every day or two customers every day, his day is not complete. Right, because he wants some customer to come, give him some instruction, his team will screw up something, then somebody will come and escalate, then he'll fix that. So that's his way of life. So set him into an air-conditioned, state-of-the-art R&D lab. This guy won't know what to do. Right. That does not mean that he does not have the technical competence. His technical competence of fixing a vehicle will be much more superior than a lot of people on the manufacturing shop floor probably. But his mind is not cut out for that. Right. So hence it is very, very important to have absolute clarity in terms of what you want to do and then pick up your field accordingly and then just go on relentlessly on that field. Otherwise, there are careers that people have, everybody has a career, there are enough and more jobs to be taken. you also end up becoming one more job seeker in the entire industry, and you'll end up finding something or the other. Whether that something or the other will be fulfilling and rewarding is a different question altogether.
Right, sir. A lot of possibilities are discussed, and I'm confident that the amount of clarity the panel members have brought today to the discussion will help students in making informed decisions for life. Determination and consistency, as Pranay sir mentioned, are the important attributes which will help them sail through. Thank you to all our panelists. What we have heard today is that building India's green mobility workforce is not a siloed effort, it's a symphony, as highlighted by Khindriya sir and other esteemed panel members. It requires vision and sync between councils, strategic agility from HR, innovation from the shop floors, adaptability in logistics, and the bridge of employability from development organizations. Technology has improved our lives to live better, but there are many things left open-ended. A lot of areas have to be worked upon. Together, this collective effort will ensure that India is not just catching up, but leading the global EV revolution. Let's carry this energy forward because the future of mobility is green and the future of green is in our hands. With this, I hand over the stage to Nikhil to conclude with a vote of thanks. I take a leave. Thank you, everyone.
Sumit, I just want to make one closing remark here, which
Yes,
is
sir.
very important.
Yes.
Pranay, talk about the aspirations. We all have aspiration, but it should not be overwhelming than the realities, right? As Pranay has made a very beautiful point, right? I may have a technical expertise. I still remember I was working with Mahindra, and I have one of my roommate who is from the IIT Mumbai. I told him, यार तू भी फील्ड में जाके खड़ा हो रहा है, मैं भी फील्ड में ही खड़ा हो रहा हूँ. What is the difference? So if you have that kind of an academic blend and you have an expertise for building the nation, you should know that where you need to be. So that is very important. And thank you, Pranay, for taking this point here. And every student, every professional, every individual has to think on those lines that what are your actual capabilities and where your heart goes with. And that's the most important thing. I think a student needs to understand this thing because when Priya madam told about that, see, as an industry, we do not want to lose any talent because people coming in the jobs and going out of the job. I'm not a recruiter. I'm a builder. As Pranay said, that founding anything is very easy. Making it for a business industry, that's very difficult because you're going to pay for the families which are associated with your business. You are responsible for all stakeholders, not only for one person or a function. So that is where I think students has, because students are the future leaders. And I think my career dependent on the upcoming future leaders only. If they are going to give me something, I will be saving my job for next 17 years, 15 years, 20 years. For me, their contributions are much more important than my own contribution because they will shape my future. I take it like this.
Rightly framed, sir. Industry don't want to lose any talent. That will give a lot of hope to students. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for these words.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Nikhil.
So with this, we are binding up this session, and a very big thank to all our panelists and to our moderator for making this session such insightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting us and listening us.
Very
And
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Take care. Bye-bye.